We have Mr. Jayant Krishna, former regional director of Tata Consultancy Services, with us on the broadcast. Mr. Krishna, I was just going through your post on X in which you spoke about the legacy of Ratan Tata, his legacy of generosity, purpose, humility and righteousness. And you also spoke about priceless memories of this great industrialist. Would you share some of them with us as well?
Yeah, so actually, I remember when I was deputed by the Tata Group to work for Government of India, initially on secondment, for the Skill India mission, the National Skill Development Corporation, which does bulk of the work for Skill India mission. I was deputed as its CEO, so that time he was no longer the chairman. He was the chairman emeritus, of course. So when I met him and asked him for his advice and his blessings, he gave me a very one-liner. He was a man of few words. He said that always keep the nation first. Whenever there is a conflict, whenever there is a you are at a crossroad and do not know which road to take, always think of the country first. And he also says. And that's also reflected in a way in the Tata Code of Conduct. If you really look at, it says if any Tata employee at any point of time has to decide between the interest of the country and the interest of business of the company that he or she represents, the country should come foremost. And that is hardbound and signed by each employee of each of the group companies as a Tata Code of Conduct. So this was one incident, and I remember, a couple of years later, having worked in the government, when I met him, and he remembered first of all, and he wanted to know what's happening, and he asked me a couple of questions. He said, what plans government has to make skill development sector more demand-driven, a demand from the industry rather than supply-driven, what it is currently, I, of course, gave him a few answers, not that I had all the answers at that point of time. After a while, he also asked me, so what do you think about the jobs? How can more jobs be created? How can employment be created? Are there some second generation reforms you guys have in mind, which can trigger employment creation? I gave him a few answers, not that I had all of them at that point of time. But, what I loved is that, he had the enthusiasm of a child and at the same time, the catholicity of a researcher, when he wanted to know. And always, the nation first, that is what his bent of mind was. So I think it's a unique legacy, which I'm sorry to say, but you don't find that in many leaders in today's corporate India, which had humility, which had generosity, which had righteousness.
And all of that is beyond business. All of that, of course, is beyond business. Today, when people are remembering Ratan Tata, they're talking about how he lived his life full of compassion and empathy and love and kindness. Do you think, that's the way, perhaps, is the way to set yourself apart when it comes to, being a leader, a corporate leader, an industry giant? That's the way he lived his entire life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a huge differentiator, and doing it right, it was so central to his life, if you really compare JRD and Mr. Ratan Tata, they were different, but at the same time, when he inherited, when he became the group chairman in the year 1991, let's not forget it was the same year when India saw the economic reforms started by the then finance minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, And the first lesson after the reforms that he took was that I have to make Tatas truly global, and the rest is history, how Chorus was acquired, how Land Rover and Jaguar were acquired, how Tetley was acquired. I remember in one of my visits to London to meet some of the clients, when these acquisitions happened, they jokingly said, there seems to be an East India company happening, but in the reverse direction, where an Indian company is coming and acquiring, British businesses, and to emerge as a single largest industrial employer in UK. Can you believe it? When Indian company becomes the single largest employer of manpower in the UK. So I think they're the huge stories, and I remember once, I was in first time when I went to Bombay House, I thought that there'll be a lot of opulence, a lot of, good furniture, good furnishing, chandeliers. But to my surprise, I found it a very, very ordinary looking reception and so on and so forth.
Simplicity.
And there were street dogs.
Yes. Mr. Krishna, I know you can go on and on, and I would love to continue this discussion, but I'm unfortunately pressed for time. And the one thing that comes out of this entire conversation is that, yes, he was a great, great leader, but the fact that made him a great man was his generosity, the compassion, the empathy, and the love and kindness that he showed others, and believed in the progress of human race. More than that, the progress of India. Thank you very much, Mr. Krishna, for joining us.